Every woman fears one kind of man, not the loud, aggressive type, not the rich or powerful, not even the cold and heartless. She fears the man she cannot control, because control, to her, is safety. It's predictability. It's knowing that her emotions, her beauty, her silence, all have an effect. But when she meets a man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't chase, who doesn't bend, everything inside her begins to unravel. You see, from a young age, women are taught that their power lies in influence. They don't need brute strength. They have emotional precision. They learn how to shift tone, posture, and expression to steer people, especially men. And for most of their lives, it works, until they meet the man who does this. He doesn't respond to her moods. He doesn't fold when she withholds affection. He doesn't seek her validation. He commands her respect. And that right there is her greatest fear. Because the moment she realizes her power doesn't move him, she's forced to confront something far deeper, that his strength exposes her dependence on emotional control. This kind of man, composed, centered, detached, doesn't win by fighting. He wins by not playing. And that drives her mad, because women are emotional tacticians. They thrive in chaos. They test to feel safe. When a man stays grounded, he becomes a mirror that reflects her instability, and that reflection terrifies her. But here's the irony. The same quality that scares her also draws her closer. She respects what she can't move. She craves what she can't predict, and she falls hardest for the man she can't fully understand. That's the paradox of attraction. The man she can control, she gets bored of. The man she can't control, she can't forget. Because deep down, she doesn't actually want dominance. She wants direction. She wants to feel the presence of a man who leads himself, who doesn't crumble under her emotion, who stands firm no matter what storm she brings. This isn't about being cold or cruel. It's about being centered. Because when you stop needing her approval, she starts to feel your presence. When you stop chasing, she starts to lean in. When you stop explaining yourself, she starts listening again. Every woman fears a man like that. Not because he threatens her, but because he awakens her. He forces her to step out of the illusion of control and into the truth. That power doesn't come from manipulation. It comes from composure. And the moment she meets that kind of man, everything changes. Because he's not competing for her attention. He's commanding her respect. And that's the one thing no woman can fake, manipulate, or take away. Every woman believes she understands men. She believes she knows how to pull their strings, how to make them chase, how to keep their attention. And for most of her life, she's right. Because women don't control men through strength. They control them through emotion, through tone, timing, and energy. She knows when to give warmth, when to pull it away, when to say nothing at all. It's not something she studies. It's something she feels. And that's the illusion of control. Most men live in reaction. They see her smile, and it fuels them. They sense her withdrawal, and it breaks them. Their sense of worth rises and falls with her moods, her words, her attention. But the moment you allow someone else to dictate your emotions, you hand them the keys to your peace. You become predictable. And once you're predictable, you're controllable. That's what most men never realize. Every emotional reaction is information. When you argue, defend, or explain yourself endlessly, you're showing her exactly where your buttons are. And once she sees how to move you, she'll never stop testing your balance. Not because she hates you, but because she needs to know your strength. Every test, every little game, is her subconscious way of asking, can he handle me? She doesn't even know she's doing it. It's instinct. Nature's way of finding which men are stable enough to lead and which will collapse under pressure. Most fail. They chase harder when she pulls away. They panic when she goes cold. They start negotiating for affection, begging for peace, proving themselves to someone who's already losing respect for them. That's what happens when a man doesn't understand the game, when he confuses emotional reaction with connection. But then, she meets a different kind of man. One who doesn't respond the way she expects. She goes silent. He stays calm. She provokes. He smiles. She tests. He doesn't play. And that's when her illusion starts to crack. Because the moment a man stops reacting, she loses control of the emotional frame. And that's terrifying. Not because she wants to dominate him, but because his stillness exposes her dependence on movement. He becomes a mirror she can't manipulate. And in that reflection, she sees the truth. Her power only worked on men who didn't know themselves. That's why calm men are so rare. Because calm isn't weakness, it's discipline. And discipline creates mystery. And mystery creates gravity. The man who doesn't react becomes the man she has to figure out. And the man she has to figure out becomes the one she can't forget. That's how the illusion breaks. Not through control, but through presence. Because when you stop being emotionally led, you stop being emotionally owned. And that's the moment she realizes she's finally met a man she can't move. Every woman, whether she admits it or not, tests the men she's drawn to. It's not malicious. It's instinct. It's how she separates the strong from the weak, the grounded from the fragile. And these tests, they're never about what she says. They're about how you react. She'll push your buttons. She'll challenge your words. She'll withdraw her warmth just to see what happens. Because deep down, she's asking one question. Can I move him? Most men fail right there. They take her emotional storm personally. They try to fix it, justify it, or out-talk it. They start explaining their worth, apologizing for things they didn't do, trying to earn back the approval that was never really lost. And every time they do that, her respect for them dies a little more. You see, when you react to her moods, you show her your center isn't within you, it's within her. And a woman cannot respect a man she can control emotionally. But then she meets a different kind of man. The one she can't read. The one who feels everything, but reveals nothing. He doesn't play defense, doesn't chase, doesn't explain. He listens, observes. And when she tests him, he simply smiles. Not arrogantly, but knowingly. That man terrifies her ego and awakens her curiosity, because emotional control isn't normal anymore. Most men are desperate for validation, hungry for approval, drowning in reaction. But the man who remains calm, he's rare. He's dangerous. He doesn't fight for power because he is power. When she sees that, something in her shifts. She'll call him mysterious. She'll say he's emotionally unavailable. But that's not true. He's just mastered the one thing most men never will: detachment. And here's the paradox. The less a man is controlled by her emotion, the more emotion she feels toward him. Because women don't bond through dominance. They bond through respect. And respect only exists when she feels your strength. So what happens when she can't manipulate you? At first, she'll resist. She'll throw tests your way, create drama, even try to provoke jealousy. Anything to see if she can break through your composure. But when you stay grounded, she submits to it. Not through fear, but through fascination. Because now she realizes something powerful. You're not reacting to her world. She's adapting to yours. That's the shift. When a man stops dancing to her rhythm, she starts moving to his. And that's when attraction turns into obsession. Because she's finally met a man she can't control. And in a world where almost every man bends for attention, the one who doesn't becomes unforgettable. There's a reason emotionally independent men stand out. They radiate something the modern world has forgotten: centered power. You can see it instantly. They don't chase attention. They don't panic when they're ignored. They don't try to prove their worth to anyone. Not to a woman, not to friends, not to society. Their peace doesn't come from the outside. It comes from within. That's what emotional independence really is. Power without noise. Because here's the truth. The man who can't control his emotions becomes a slave to everyone who can. If a woman can make you angry, she owns your peace. If she can make you jealous, she owns your confidence. If she can make you chase, she owns your purpose. And that's how most men lose themselves, not through rejection or betrayal, but through dependence. They let their emotional state depend on whether they're loved, noticed, or chosen. But the man who breaks that dependency becomes unstoppable. He's not numb. He's not cold. He's focused. He feels everything, but he's ruled by nothing. You can't guilt him. You can't pressure him. You can't manipulate him with silence or temptation, because he no longer needs the validation those things used to provide. He's already full. And here's what most people don't realize. Emotional independence isn't natural. It's forged. It comes from pain, from rejection, from loss, from realizing that nobody's coming to save you and that your peace is your responsibility. That's when something inside a man changes. He stops waiting for people to treat him right and starts treating himself with discipline. He stops needing to be understood and starts understanding himself. He stops fighting for love and starts embodying self-respect. And that's when he becomes dangerous, because he no longer operates on the same frequency as everyone else. A woman feels it immediately. She can sense it in his body language, in his tone, in his stillness. He's not there to be validated. He's there because he chooses to be. He's not attached to the outcome. He's attached to the standard. That level of energy changes everything. It creates a gravity she can't explain. She can't toy with him because he's not reacting. She can't pull him off course because he's living by purpose, not impulse. That's emotional independence, not detachment from feeling, but mastery over it. It's the ability to care deeply without losing yourself in the process, to love without needing permission, to give without fear of loss. That's the ultimate form of power. Not control over her, but control over yourself. Because once you master that, no one can use your emotions against you again. And that, more than anything, is what every woman both fears and respects. There's a reason the words fear and respect often walk side by side. Because deep down, they're not opposites, they're twins. Both are born from awareness of power. A woman doesn't fear a man because he's dangerous. She fears him because he's unshakable. Because when she realizes she can't control his emotions, when she can't predict his reactions, something inside her shifts. That uncertainty, that mystery, that's the foundation of both fear and respect. Most men never create that feeling. They give everything up front, their energy, their time, their validation, their peace, hoping it'll be appreciated. But what's easily given is rarely respected, and what's predictable can never be feared. See, women aren't drawn to chaos. They are chaos, emotionally fluid, constantly shifting, designed by nature to test and feel. So when a man meets that energy with stillness, with presence, she feels polarity. He becomes what she can't be, stable, grounded, composed. And the more she senses that power, the deeper her respect grows, even when her ego resists it. That's the psychology behind why fear and respect are inseparable. A woman doesn't respect what she can dominate. She respects what she can't move, because what she can't move, she must surrender to. When she realizes you don't fold under pressure, when your tone doesn't rise, when your eyes don't break contact, when your energy doesn't waver, she knows you're operating on a different level. And that's when her behavior changes. Her sarcasm fades, her tone softens, her tests lose intensity, because she's no longer trying to lead. She's responding to leadership. That's the hidden truth about attraction most men never hear. Women don't want to be in control. They want to feel safe enough to let go of control, And safety doesn't come from weakness. It comes from strength, restrained. That's why the man she fears is also the man she trusts. Because she knows his power isn't wild, it's disciplined. It's not about domination. It's about direction. He doesn't use his strength to overpower her, but to contain her chaos. And that, in the deepest part of the feminine psyche, is intoxicating. When she can't move you, she respects you. When she feels your steadiness, she relaxes. When she knows you could lose control, but never do. She feels both fear and safety at once. That emotional contradiction is what keeps her connected, intrigued, loyal. Fear without trust breeds submission. Trust without fear breeds boredom. But when a man embodies both, calm, control, and silent strength, he becomes unforgettable. Because fear and respect are two sides of the same truth. A woman's heart only submits to what her ego cannot conquer. Every man wants to be respected. Every man wants to be desired, admired, and remembered. But few ever learn how to become the kind of man who naturally commands it. Not through force, not through pretending to be alpha, but through mastery, of self, of emotion, of silence. Because respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you embody. And the path to becoming that man, the one women can't manipulate, the one other men quietly respect, starts with 3 words. Control your frame. 1. Control the inner world. The first battlefield isn't out there. It's inside your mind. If your emotions swing with every text, argument, or rejection, you'll never project power. Learn to pause before reacting. When she tries to provoke you, breathe. When she withdraws, remain steady. Because your reaction reveals your level of discipline. Men who can't control their emotional state are slaves to external validation. The ones who can, they create gravity. That calmness, that stillness, it draws people in without effort. 2. Speak less, mean more. A weak man overshares. He fills silence with noise because he fears being misunderstood. But the strong man, he's strategic with his words. He doesn't argue to be right. He speaks to be heard. He knows that silence unsettles, that composure communicates more than confrontation ever could. His tone is low, his sentences short, his eye contact steady. That's presence. And presence always outranks performance. 3. Detach from the outcome. Most men lose power because they fear loss. Loss of a woman, loss of approval, loss of comfort. But once you accept that you can lose everything and still be fine, you become untouchable. Detachment isn't indifference, it's confidence. It's saying, I don't need this to define me. Because when you stop trying to hold on, life and women start holding on to you. 4. Build a mission. Bigger than desire. Purpose is magnetic. A man with direction doesn't chase distraction. When your time is consumed with your craft, your goals, your growth, your energy shifts. You're no longer seeking meaning through people. You're creating it. That's when others start orbiting you. That's when a woman's respect becomes the natural byproduct of your momentum. 5. Walk away peacefully. Weak men walk away angry. Strong men walk away silent. When you know your worth, you don't need to announce it. You don't burn bridges. You outgrow them. Because peace is the loudest proof of power. Becoming that man doesn't mean being emotionless. It means being emotionally sovereign. It means understanding that true strength is calm, that silence is dominance, that self-control is the new rebellion. Because in a world full of noise, the man who masters himself doesn't chase respect. He becomes it.